Chair, I'm just going to write it on a post-it note for you, okay?
Welcome to Rochford District Council's remote council meeting of the 23rd of February 2021, and a warm welcome also to anybody watching us via the live stream. I shall take item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Apologies have been received in the office from councillors Cannell and Wilson. Are there any more members? No, thank you. Agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of February 2021. Members, are you happy for me to sign these in due course? That's the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 16th of February, and I assume agreement unless anyone clicks on the raised hand icon. There are no such indications. Thank you, members. That has been agreed. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, members?
Yes.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in relation to item 9, 1.4, the ARG grants, by virtue of the fact that I currently have an application sitting with Rochford Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Members, I shall take agenda item 4, announcements from the paid chairman, sorry, from the chairman, leader or head of paid service. There are none. The leader of the council would also like to make an announcement. Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we agreed I wouldn't be making an announcement at this point.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wootton. Councillor Hookway, you'd like to speak?
Yes, Chairman. Yeah, sorry, my hand was a little bit slow. It's relating to declarations of interest. Like Councillor Wilkinson, I need to declare an interest in relation to the same matter because I have an application in as well.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Members, we'll take item 5 on the agenda, public questions and member questions on notice, of which there are none. Agenda item 6, business from last meeting. Members, does anyone have any questions relating to the business from the council meeting held on the 15th of December 2020? None indicated, thank you. Agenda item 7, to note the minutes of the executive and committee meetings held between the period 1st of December 2020 to the 9th of February 2021. Are these noted, members? And I will assume agreement unless anyone clicks on the raised hand icon. No such indication. Thank you, members. Agenda item 8, to consider any reports from the executive and committees to council, of which there are none. Agenda item 9, report on urgent decisions. These noted, members, I will assume agreement unless anyone clicks on the raised hand icon. No such indication. Thank you, members. That's been noted. Agenda item 10, report on the leader on the work of the executive.
Thank you.
Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I'm pleased to provide an update for information purposes on business dealt with by the executive since the last full council meeting in December 2020. At its meeting on the 3rd of February, the executive noted the Q3 2020-21 revenue budget and capital position set out in the financial management report. It also approved a budget of £20,000 to appoint external legal advisors to provide advice on contract strategy and preparation of legal documentation on the waste collection and street cleansing contract. In line with this decision, a 3-month extension was agreed to the end of July 2022 on the existing waste collection and street cleansing contracts to allow sufficient time for a procurement process to be undertaken. Portfolio holder decisions which have been taken have been leased a section of the council-owned asset known as Ashington Pavilion to Ashington Parish Council for use as an office space, meeting room and public conveniences for a period of 7 years at an annual rent of £2,500. Also agreed that a response be submitted to the government's supporting housing delivery and public service infrastructure consultation within the prescribed time period. And finally, entered into the statement of common ground with Castle Point Borough Council as relating to the Castle Point local plan. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Members, I shall now take agenda item 11, motions on notice, of which there are none. Agenda item 12, setting the council tax 2021/22. Councillor Wootton, could I ask you to introduce the report, please?
That's kind of you, Chairman. Thank you very much. Chairman, this is my first budget as leader of this Conservative administration. The budget pressures under which local government operates remain significant, and this authority continues to look closely at opportunities to make efficiency savings and generate new sources of revenue. This is not only in response to the removal of government grants, but also to deal with significant cost increases arising from inflationary and demographic pressures, as well as the impact of COVID-19. Our business plan sets out the high-level priorities that this council will work towards over the medium term, which are being financially sustainable, using early intervention to manage demand on our services, maximising our assets, and enabling communities. Following approval at full council in September 2020, the council and its development partner, GB Partnerships, have entered into a contract to deliver the council's asset delivery programme. This exciting programme will see the regeneration of key sites across the Rochford district, providing the modern and flexible spaces that our staff and residents will need in the future. Alongside this, the council's Connect Cultural and Transformation programme will ensure members and staff can operate as 21st century public servants and will improve our digital interface with residents and meet expectations of quality customer service. Despite the challenges faced over the last year, we have continued to deliver excellent services to our residents. Some key achievements include partnership working via the Community Response Hub, which has seen health and wellbeing partners come together with volunteers to support a range of resident needs during the pandemic. Partnering with CHESS, that's the Church's Homeless Emergency Support Scheme, to relieve homelessness and related hardship. Paying out well over £20 million of COVID-19 related grants to around 2,000 businesses in the Rochford district. Launching the Reopening High Street Safely and Business Adaptation Fund schemes to support businesses to reopen in a COVID secure way. Providing self-isolation support payments to over 70% of applicants, putting us amongst the top rates in the country. Supporting Fusion Lifestyle to successfully reopen the council's leisure sites in a COVID-19 secure phased approach after the lockdown. Being placed 7th in the league for recycling out of more than 350 authorities across England. Maintaining an unqualified set of financial accounts and value for money opinion from our external auditors. Awarding grants to voluntary groups working across the district to enable them to deliver initiatives that improve our strong community resilience, which exists across our district. Achieving an estimated £900,000 of savings to the NHS and wider society, along with just over 70 housing hazards being removed or reduced as a result of the work of the private housing team. Agreeing Rochford's carbon neutral policy and action plan and approving a disposable plastic policy, which sets out how Rochford will reduce its use of plastics and support others to do the same. Facilitating Rayleigh Windmill volunteers to deliver Windmill Wednesdays videos on social media while it remains closed due to the pandemic. Supporting health walk volunteers to help residents moving by resuming COVID-19 safe health walks in September. And finally, working in partnership with Active Essex through their Activity Heroes campaign, which recognises local heroes who have helped keep the county safe and active during this difficult year. Chairman and colleagues, the list is endless and is way in excess of those long-established services we deal with as a council day in and day out. For example, development control, waste collection, open space maintenance, street cleaning, leisure services, business support, housing, community support, car parking management, to name but a few. As a responsible council, we will continue to look at areas where costs can be reduced or income generated. However, in 21-22, there is a need to increase council tax by 2.1% to help fund the financial pressures that the district is currently facing. This equates to an increase of 10 pence per household per week on a Band D property. I repeat, an increase of 10 pence per household per week on a Band D property. It must be remembered, though, that we should celebrate by being a debt-free council with no loan interest to pay. We are addressing our projected budget gap and providing capital investment in our district. Creditable achievements indeed, and the envy of many other local authorities. The proposal is to set Rochford District Council's tax for a Band D property at £240.21 per year. The breakdown of annual council tax for a Band D property would be Essex County Council proportion £1,204.92, Essex County Council Social Care Levy £135.99, Essex County Fire and Rescue £73.89, Essex Police Fire and Crime Commissioner £208.53, average town parish councils £52.25, and the Rochford District Council share £240.21, as I said earlier. So the total average council tax for a Band D property for 2021-22 would be £1,915.79, an increase of £35.16, and that equates to 1.9%. It needs to be remembered that the Rochford District Council share of the council tax is actually less than 15% of the total, but we are the billing authority for all of the preceptors. In conclusion, Chairman, although these remain difficult financial times, Rochford District Council remains committed to providing an excellent services to our residents and partners. With this in mind, we will be doing all we can to deliver innovative and high quality services. Chairman, I commend the Rochford District Council tax for members' approval as set out in the recommendations at item 5 of the report. But before I pass over to you, Chairman, if I may, I should like to refer to the monitoring officer, Angela Law, who will talk us through the additional items in the addendum at item 5, if I may, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Angela Law.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to give my apologies to yourself and the members. Members may or...
Angela is muted, Chairman.
Members, can
No,
you
no.
hear me?
Angela is muted.
Yes,
Can
Angela
anybody
is muted.
Angela Law speak, please? Angela, do you wish to carry on?
Chairman, Angela is muted.
Yes, Chairman, I have to be muted and share your microphone.
Councillors, Angela Law is sharing my microphone so that there's no feedback. I'd ask you to be quiet so that we can all hear her speak, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, yes, I'd like to give my apologies to yourself and the members. An addendum was sent out just prior to this meeting as there's been an omission to the recommendation. Chairman, there is an addendum to item 12 with 4 additional bullet points to the recommendation. Through you, Chair, I'm happy to read the recommendations, or if you would allow adjournment for 10 minutes to allow members to read.
Chairman, sorry, Chairman, you're muted.
Members, I shall adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes in order for members to read the addendum to item 12, which you all received by email this afternoon. I shall also arrange for the addendum to be shown on the screen, which is coming up soon. Thank you, members. I shall come back to you in 10 minutes.
Chairman, you're muted. Across the screen, just trying to get a nice one.
Managed to get it working, Arthur?
Yes. Yep.
Good. Well, that's a bit of a blinding obvious question, really, wasn't it?
Members, thank you for your patience. Hopefully you've had sufficient time to read the additional items as per the addendum. The recommendation 5.1 on 12.3 and 12.4 have already been moved, which include the additional items as per the addendum by Councillor Wootton. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Smith? Councillor Smith?
Pardon. I'm happy to second this, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Members, I shall now open this up to general debate. Anybody wishing to speak? Councillor Eaves, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a little bit concerned that we've had something which really we would normally want to have an amount of time outside the meeting to be able to cross-reference something that's potentially quite complicated to understand. To be presented with it at this point in the meeting, it seems to me to rather prejudice the voting in that a lot of us, if we're honest, will have to abstain. And I think it's a bit of a miscalculation to present it to council at this late stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves, for your comments. Does anybody else wish to make any comments? No one. Members, Councillor Smith, you'd like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I think I do understand what Councillor Eaves has said, but I would just like to point out that the recommendation that is before us is essentially a statement of fact or an explanation of how a particular calculation is made. I can appreciate that there are aspects to the setting of the council tax that are controversial, but effectively they were dealt with last week. I think, to my mind, the only question would be if there is anything factual wrong in the figures that are stated or the basis of the calculations that have been made. And I certainly don't have any trouble with this at all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Naomi, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I was just going to echo what Councillor Smith said, in that it's essentially a factual calculation of how the council tax amount set out in the report have been arrived at. The recommendations themselves don't add anything new to the report. The appendices that they refer to were already referred to within the body of the report. They just were not referenced as specific recommendations, but there's no change to the way the council tax has been calculated to the way it's been done in previous years. So I just like to sort of add that assurance to members that there's nothing new or different that's been added to this report by that addendum. Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation, Naomi Lucas. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure that has been just noted that from Naomi that the calculations are the same as what they were previous years. I'm sure, but I do think that in essence it would be nice to have this beforehand, even though I do believe it's probably correct on the assumption that they know, obviously they know what they're doing, and it's been like this for several years, but it would be nice to have it sometime beforehand rather than presented on the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stanley. Members, I cannot see anybody else wishing to speak on this item. I shall therefore put it to the vote. The recommendation at 5.1, including the additions as per the addendum, has been proposed by Councillor Wootton and seconded by Councillor Smith. Those members who cannot raise their blue hand, I shall ask them individually if they would like to have a recorded vote. Councillor Mrs. Carter, would you like a recorded vote?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood, would you like a recorded vote?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Ionu, would you like a recorded vote?
No.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Merrick, would you like a recorded vote?
No, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Merrick. Members, everybody else can raise their hand icon. If anybody would like a recorded vote to be taken, please click on the raise hand icon to indicate your wish for a recorded vote, please. Members, there will not be a recorded vote. Members, could I ask, therefore, are they all hands down? Thank you. Members, could I ask then for those people who wish to vote for the recommendation to indicate, please? Oh, sorry, members, my apologies. I shall go to the 4 members who cannot raise their hand first. Councillor Mrs. Tony Carter, can you indicate whether you're in favour of the recommendations, against, or abstain?
Thank you. I abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood, are you in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Ionen.
I'm in for the recommendation.
Thank you. And Councillor Merrick.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. All other members, please indicate whether they're in favour of the recommendations, please. Members, if I could ask you now to lower your raised hands, please. Members, those members who wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate. Thank you, members. And those who wish to abstain, please indicate. Members, those recommendations have been accepted. 27 votes for, none against, and 7 abstentions. Thank you, members. I'll come. Members, we shall now take item 13 on the agenda. This is a local council tax support scheme 2021/22. Councillor Simon Smith, could I please ask you to introduce this report? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. This report is exceptionally similar to the report that you saw last year. The principal change is that an inflationary increase has been included for 21-22. Chairman, this is perhaps not what might be best described as one of our most accessible documents at 196 pages long, but it is the policy and a legal document rather than a user guide. But I can assure members that on the website there is a significantly condensed version which is much more accessible for members of the public or that might wish to access this scheme. I'm quite happy to move it for recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Do you have a seconder, Councillor Smith? Councillor Laureen Shaw?
I will second that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Shaw. Members, I shall open this up to debate. Councillor Michael Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure most members who know me know that I would always love to speak on this item. I think I do so every year, so I'm sure members who know me know what I'm now going to do. I have some problems with this policy, and as I've raised previously, it's to do with the minimum income floor. For those members who might not be completely familiar with this policy, it assumes that there's an assumption built into the calculations that self-employed people will earn the minimum wage or the national living wage at 35 hours a week. Now, clearly, this isn't always the case. There are exceptions to this built in within the policy for startups, for instance, and I understand from talking to Naomi Lucas this year that there's been some extensions to this on hardship. However, I would like to point out that central government have removed the minimum income floor from calculations in relation to universal credit for the moment, and it's likely to remain so for the next year as well. I understand it might well be in the budget to do that for another year. So I'm proposing an amendment to the motion to remove reference to the minimum income floor, which is essentially paragraph 29A.0. I believe I have a seconder for that.
Yes, Chairman, that's Councillor Hookway. I will be seconding that Councillor Hoy's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Members, we have a proposer and a second for an amendment. Councillor Hoy, just to be perfectly clear, could you please reaffirm the exact amendment you require, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I will double check it as I speak to you to make sure I've got the right paragraph, but I did write it down earlier. But as you suggest, it's best not to make an error in something like this and to confirm it, which I've on my PDFs. So they'll be there in a moment. I've highlighted it.
Councillor Hoy, you wish to amend the recommendation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the recommendation is for this. I'm moving an amendment to remove 29A.0, which is the reference to minimum income floor. So that's paragraph which starts on page 13.67 of our report, or page 64 of the actual policy, I believe. That's where it starts.
list indicated to speak. We've got, we might want to ask Councillor Schmidt.
Councillor Hoy, are you coming back to me?
Sorry, Councillor Drew, I thought I had come back to you. Yes, I was confirming that there's I'm proposing an amendment which has been seconded by Councillor Hookway to remove paragraph 29A.0, which starts on page 13.67 of the report, and I think page 64 of the policy.
Okay, members, we shall debate that amendment as put forward by Councillor Hoy and seconded by Councillor Hookway. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. As Councillor Hoy has pointed out, he is a creature of habit, and he's quite right. He's raised this on a number of occasions. We believe that this section does allow fairness with those that are employed, and I've got given that we sort of had a foresight that this question might be coming up. I do have an answer which I'll read out if that's all right, as to the reason why this item is in there.
Please carry on, Councillor Smith. Thank you.
It's not possible to quantify the cost of removing the minimum income floor, known as the MIF. Unfortunately, there is no identifier in our system to show where the MIF has been applied, as this is just a consideration which forms part of the calculations for the CTS of a self-employed applicant under the terms of the scheme. We would need to manually check every self-employed claim that we are currently paying, and there are those that have previously been self-employed, and go through the calculation of the claim to establish whether the MIF has been applied. Under the terms of our policy, we can, at our discretion, extend the startup period or allow a further startup period where one has already been given. This gives us particular flexibility to look at cases on an individual basis. We've been particularly mindful of this during the pandemic period. Only a small number of experienced staff within the benefits team deal with self-employed cases. They're all aware of the use of discretion as far as the MIF is concerned, and they do this consistently in line with the policy, allowing extensions and new startup periods where appropriate. If anyone feels they've been unduly affected by the MIF being applied, then we would look at those cases on an individual basis. Therefore, Chairman, I don't feel it is appropriate to support the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. The reason why I support Councillor Hoy's amendment with his motion is because it's a simple matter to alter this, and also this is something that comes up every year, and because it comes up every year, the council has the opportunity, if it feels so, to reverse any decision that it might have made the previous year. It's not something that is going to be set in stone forever. So bearing in mind the situation that we have found ourselves in over the last year, and there has been a number of issues which people have found, particularly amongst the self-employed, to do with hardship and with their earnings. This could be something that could be, as well as being an actual benefit, it would also show this particular part of our community that the council is really thinking about those individuals who are in the position of being self-employed, and this is a much broader spectrum now because of the the various different types of employment with the gig economy and stuff like that. And self-employed people can be on very low incomes, and so this would definitely be a help to many of the lower income form of self-employment that we find ourselves with at this moment in time. So as I say, the council could be quite bold and generous and back this motion, and if they felt that it wasn't something that was working, or there was some issues to do with how it is administered, in a year's time the council could change its mind and reverse it. But you will never know how much of a benefit this will be unless you actually implement it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Councillor Wilkinson, you're indicating you wish to speak, but we are debating the amended motion as put forward by Councillor Hoy and seconded by Councillor Hookway. Do you wish to speak on that amended motion?
There's one question I wanted to ask, Chairman, but before I do so, I am conscious of that. I wanted to initially put my hand up to speak on the main substantive motion. If this motion, amended motion, fails, would you allow me to speak again on the main motion?
Yes, I will, Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chairman. In that case, I have one question, if I may, of Councillor Smith. If I just understand correctly what you've just said, paragraph 29A2 talks about the 2-year startup period. If I understand it correctly, is it a case that the council will look at applicants on an individual case-by-case basis, and we have got the capability within the scheme to extend past that 2-year period if the grounds are there? So in other words, we're not going to stick to 2 years rigidly. We can extend past that 2-year period if we want to.
Councillor Smith, can you respond to that, please?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one other point, and I'm just referring, as already been referred to, as self-employed, but also the low hours where people are not necessarily employed under an employment contract, but under an hours contract. So, we could still have people with low hours. Is that still something which the council are looking at as well as or can be looked at as well as the self-employed?
Thank you, Councillor Stanley. Councillor Smith, can you respond to that one?
I'm not sure I've fully got the gist of the question, because I think we were moving away from self-employed.
Councillor Stanley,
and if that were the case, it'd be no.
Just to put it in the same frame is how can I put this? Self-employed, as we all know, is not necessarily a contract with a business. It's their own business, and with a lot of businesses at the moment, a lot of people are on short-term, if you like, short-term hours or whatever that may be. It somehow relates to the self-employed because they are basically self-employed. They've got no guarantee of work or anything, same as the self-employed have, no guarantee of work at all. So will they still be in the same covering of this policy? I'd like to think that the policy that's just been mentioned is that, not only the self-employed, but it is those people that are on low hours and they haven't got anything to back them.
Thank you, Joe. If you don't mind, Chairman, we're starting to get into quite complicated, almost specific details. The number of hours in the policy is set at 35, and that's at the core. I think if Councillor Stanley wants a further, more detailed answer on a very specific set of circumstances, then I will pass over to Naomi Lucas. Thank you.
Naomi, would you like to add anything, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the policy is specifically, the minimum income floor does specifically apply to self-employed people rather than employed people. As Councillor Stanley points out, that the way that is calculated is based on equivalent minimum number of hours of 35, and that isn't something we intend to apply discretion on, although, as Councillor Smith has said, we have got the discretion to vary the startup period to allow self-employed people a little more leeway, and we have been applying that flexibility during the pandemic period. I would just add, as I've said in previous years, that the intention of the policy is that there is some parity and fairness across those who are employed, who may well be on low incomes themselves or even on 0 hours, against the self-employed. So it's not that the council doesn't want to help those that are self-employed, but we want to apply a policy that's fair and consistent across both cohorts of people, and that's the intention of the policy, to be fair across all of those groups. Thank you. Chairman, you're on mute.
Sorry. Members, can I remind everybody that we are debating the amendment as put forward by Councillor Hoy. Councillor Mrs. Christine Mason, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we are debating a policy, and yet we're told we want to leave this policy to our staff, which and our members will be doing the staff members will be doing their best by individuals. I don't think that's fair on either the individuals applying for this or for our staff members. The bureaucratic shortcomings that have been mentioned should not end up with penalising the disadvantaged. And if they are looking at situations individually, then there's no reason why Councillor Hoy's amendments can't go through. If the government, in their wisdom, have altered this, I'm surprised that an administration of the same colour wouldn't want to follow suit, to be honest. But my view is that the very point here is that we are disadvantaging the already disadvantaged because of this 35 hours minimum floor. So I will be supporting the amendment. Thank you.
You're on mute, Chairman, sorry.
Councillor Mrs. Mason. Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair. Just a small point. It's been mentioned many times in consideration of support for self-employed people, the 2-year. I mean, although we're being flexible on that, if we are being flexible, what is the point of actually having the 2-year in there? Case in point would be something, let's say, for instance, with this year, obviously, you might have people who've been self-employed in business for many, many years, but they've found themselves in hardship this year because of the situation. And I'm finding it difficult to understand why we have a 2-year sort of standard on the consideration that we are giving to startups, when in actual fact, what we're really doing, in what I've heard so far, is that we're considering it for everyone. So it just seems a little bit strange that we've got this 2-year noted in our policy. Why would we do that if we ignore it routinely for people who actually need it? Thank you.
Naomi Lucas, can you comment on that, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say as we routinely ignore it. I think the intention of the policy is that if someone had just met that 2-year threshold, for example, as the pandemic started, ordinarily they wouldn't be eligible to be considered. But given the pandemic and the extraordinary circumstances some people may have found themselves in, we've allowed officers that discretion and flexibility to extend that if they see fit. But yeah, so the 2-year guideline is there as a guideline, as a starting point, but obviously we have taken into account the specific circumstances of individuals over the course of the last year, and will intend to do so going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi Lucas. Members, I can see no other members wishing to speak on the amendment. I shall therefore put it to the vote. I shall first ask, though, the 4 members who cannot raise their hand icon whether they wish to have a recorded vote. And if once I call your name, if you could let me know. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you. Yes, I would like a recorded vote.
Members, Angela Law wishes to speak.
Chairman, before you take this matter to a vote, we need to be clear as to what the recommendation that Councillor Floyd is moving here. I understand it is recommendation 1 is subject to the removal of policy of paragraph 29A.0. However, I do need Councillor Hoy to confirm his amended recommendation.
Councillor Hoy, can you confirm that, please?
Yes, Chairman, I can confirm that. I have, I believe, stated it 3 times.
Yes.
I'm happy to confirm
Yes.
that for a 4th time.
Thank you.
I would just also point out that I did have a right to reply, but I chose not to use it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Hoy.
Chairman, if I may, I just want to point a clarification. I just think it's important for members. I think the reason that Angela's asking is because paragraph 29A.0 is nothing, and it doesn't include all the other paragraphs afterwards that we've been discussing. And I think that might be the point that Angela Law is alluding to, just for clarity, because at the moment, the only paragraph that we're going to be voting on is just a bold bit of text. There's no paragraph to it.
Sorry, for clarity, it was the whole section 29A.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilkinson. I was referring to paragraph was the wrong term. Presumably, it should have been section 29A.0, that whole section, which is headed minimum income floor. That's what's being removed.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hoy, and that further clarification, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Hookway, are you happy with that explanation? And do you still wish to second the amended motion?
Thank you, Chairman, for asking. Yes, perfectly happy, and I am more than happy to continue seconding the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, once again, then, I shall ask those members who are unable to raise their hand icon whether they wish to have a recorded vote. Councillor Mrs. Carter, you've already indicated your wish for a recorded vote. Is that still the same, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Ionu.
No recorded vote.
Councillor Merrick.
No.
Thank you. Members, those members who wish to have a recorded vote, could you please indicate by raising your hand icon, please? Members, there will not be a recorded vote. Members, could I ask the members please once again to indicate whether they wish to have a recorded vote, and please only click on your hand icon once, please. Members, there will not be a recorded vote. Thank you for your patience.
Sorry, Chairman, can we please check the maths? I make it, there's at least 20%. I make it 7 votes for a recorded vote, and there are 35 or fewer members present.
We are checking again. Members, we've rechecked the figures and there will be a recorded vote. When I call your name out, please indicate whether you wish to vote for, against or abstain the amended motion as put forward by Councillor Hoy and seconded by Councillor Hookway. Councillor Mrs. Belton.
Against.
Councillor Mrs. Butcher.
Against, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you. I support Councillor Michael Hoy's amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Mr. Carter.
Against, Chairman.
Myself, against. Councillor Efty.
Chairman, I don't have an interest, but I'm self-employed, so I'm not going to vote on this. That's okay.
You wish to abstain, yes?
Yes. No vote, because abstain is.
Okay. You've got to vote.
Oh, abstain then. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Gooding.
Against, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Hazelwood. Against. Councillor Hazelwood, you're on mute. Councillor Hazelwood, you're on mute. Please indicate.
Right, I'm against.
Thank you. Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. I am for the motion.
Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm for the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson.
Against.
Councillor Ionu.
For the motion, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mr. Lucas Gill.
Against, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Lumley.
Against.
Against.
Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am supporting the motion to help our disadvantaged self-employed. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. McPherson.
I am against the amendment. I have faith in the system that has already been in place for our residents. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Merrick.
Against.
Councillor Milne.
I'm against, Chairman.
Councillor Newport.
For the motion.
Councillor Paveling.
Against, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs. Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. Against.
Councillor Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Against.
Councillor Mr. Shaw.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Sperring.
Against.
Councillor Stanley.
For those, thank you.
Councillor Steptoe.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Ward.
Against.
Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chairman. I also have confidence in our existing system. Thank you. Against.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Weston.
Against, Chairman.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Wish to abstain, Chairman, please.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Against.
Councillor Wootton.
Against, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Members, that amended motion has been defeated. There were 4 votes for, sorry, my apologies, 8 votes for, 24 against and 2 abstentions. Thank you, members. Members, we shall now debate the original motion as proposed by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Wootton. Any questions, members? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I have 2 questions, if I may, just a bit of clarity. Section 3.1 of the report, it talks about a personal allowance, and it says that there's an increase in this personal allowance. Does that mean it's an increase in the allowance paid, or that the threshold required to meet to qualify has increased? And my second question is regarding paragraph 5.2, which talks about officers' discretion, and I just wonder what criteria has been decided will be applied there, and how does that work in practice? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. And Naomi Lucas, can you respond to those 2 questions, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. In relation to Councillor Wilkinson's first question on paragraph 3.1 of the report, he's correct in that it's not an amount paid, it's an allowance used to calculate the entitlement to the local council tax support scheme. In relation to his second query on the hardship fund, we do have some internal guidance for officers on those cases that we feel may be eligible for that scheme. That's not a kind of public document that's part of this report, but yeah, we do have some guidance. But ultimately, as we said, it's officers who are experienced and who are able to use their discretion to apply that where necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi Lucas. Councillor Laureen Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for clarification, I was the one that seconded Councillor Smith, not Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Shaw, and I apologise for the error and thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Members, I can see no other members wishing to speak on this. I shall therefore put this to the vote. And just to be clear, there are 2 recommendations. One, these are on page 8.1 of the report on page 13.3. 1, that the LCTS scheme be approved to come into effect from the 1st of April 2021 as detailed in section 13A policy. And 2, that the discretionary reduction in council tax liability policy be confirmed from the 1st of April 2021. Members, I shall ask those who cannot raise their raised hand icon as if they wish to have a recorded vote for those recommendations. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Ionu.
No recorded vote, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Merrick.
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Could I therefore ask all the other councillors if they wish to have a recorded vote on this item, please to indicate. Members, no one is indicating. There will not be a recorded vote. Could I ask therefore members who are for the recommendation? My apologies, members. I shall go to the 4 first councillors who are unable to raise their hand icon to ask them if they are for, against, or wish to abstain from the recommendations. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to abstain, please, on 1 and 2.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Ionu.
For the motion, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Merrick.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, could I ask the rest of the members then to indicate in a normal way as to whether they are for the motion, please?
Chairman, I'm sorry, it's Councillor Lucas Gill. My computer won't raise the hand, but I am for the motion.
In future then, Councillor Lucas Gill, I shall add you to the 4 who cannot raise their raised hand. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Sorry about this.
Members, if you could lower your blue hand icon, please. Members, are those against, please indicate. And those who wish to abstain, please indicate. Members, those recommendations have been approved. 27 votes for, none against, 7 abstentions. Thank you, members. Members, we shall now take agenda item 14, council representation on the partnership panel. This item will be introduced by Miss Angela Law, Assistant Director, Illegal and Democratic. Angela, please.
Sorry, Chairman, you're muted, so we can't hear Angela.
My apologies, members. Please continue, Angela.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to ask members to review the representation of the partnership panel following a change in the political composition of the council. Paragraph 2.3 of the report shows the current political composition as opposed to the previous paragraph. So, Chairman, the Green and Independent Group and the Independent Group have been allocated a single seat between them, and they've been asked to nominate 1 member to that seat. Chairman, since the publication of the report, we have been informed that both groups wish to nominate Councillor Wilson. Therefore, Chair, the recommendation in the report should now read that Councillor Wilson should continue as a representative on the partnership panel as per the addendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela Law. Any questions, members? No one's indicating. Members, we therefore have 1 revised recommendation as set out in the addendum to the report on page 14.3, which I shall move from the chair. And that is that Councillor S.A. Wilson should continue as a representative on the partnership panel. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that,
Just
Chairman.
second that for you, Chairman.
Thank
Sorry.
you. I think Councillor Ionu was first. Thank you very much, members. Members, I shall therefore go to the vote, and I shall firstly ask those members who cannot raise their hand icon as if they wish to have a recorded vote. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
No.
Councillor Ionu.
No recorded vote, Chairman.
Councillor Merrick.
No, Chairman.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
No, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Members, could I ask those members wishing to have a recorded vote to indicate now, please?
No.
There is no such indication, members. There will not be a recorded vote. Therefore, those members who wish to agree to the recommendation, please indicate that. My apologies, members, I've done it again. I shall ask the members, firstly, the ones who cannot raise their raised hand icon, how they wish to vote. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair, for.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
Against.
Councillor Ionu.
For.
Councillor Merrick.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Lucas Gill.
For.
Thank you. Members, could I ask the rest of the members please to indicate those who wish to accept the recommendation, please? Members, those recommendations have been agreed. 33 voted for, 1 against. Thank you. Members, I shall now take item 15 on the agenda, the Crouch Harbour Authority. And again, Miss Angela Law, Assistant Director, Legal and Democratic, will introduce this report. Angela Law.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to ask members to approve a change in the representation to the Crouch Harbour Authority for the remainder of the current municipal year. This follows a change made to the membership of the executive. It is proposed that the council resolves that the portfolio holder for the environment and place be appointed as the council's representative on the Crouch Harbour Authority for the remainder of the municipal year. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Angela Law. Members, any questions at all on this one, please? There are none being indicated. And members, then we have one recommendation as set out in paragraph 7.1 of the report on page 15.1, which I will move from the chair. It says as follows, that the portfolio holder for the environment and place be appointed as the council's representative on the Crouch Harbour Authority for the remainder of the municipal year. Do I have a seconder, members, please?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas Gill. I shall now put this to the vote then, members. And I shall ask those members who cannot raise their blue hand icon whether they wish to have a recorded vote. Councillor Mrs. Tony Carter.
Thank you. Yes, it's 4. Thank you.
Is that for a recorded vote, Councillor Mrs. Carter?
Sorry, Chair. I sorry, I misheard that. No, I don't need a recorded vote. Sorry.
Councillor Hazelwood, would you like a recorded vote?
No.
Councillor Ionu?
No recorded vote, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Merrick?
No, Chairman.
And Councillor Mr. Lucas Gill?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Would the other members please indicate, please indicate if they wish to have a recorded vote? There's no such indication, members. Could those members then please, who wish to agree to the recommendation, please, my apologies. If you could hold on for 2 seconds, members. I shall first of all ask the members who cannot raise their hand icon how they wish to vote, for, against or abstain. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood. Councillor Hazelwood. Councillor Hazelwood, can you hear me? Oh, how would you wish to vote, please? Thank you. Councillor Ionu.
4, Chairman.
Councillor Merrick.
4.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
4, Chairman.
Members, could I ask those members who are for the recommendations to indicate, please?
You're on mute, Chairman. Chairman.
Thank you. Members, I shall now take item 16 on the agenda. This is the Pay Policy Statement 2021/22. The Council's Acting Managing Director, Mrs. Angela Hutchings, will introduce the report. Angela Hutchings, please.
No sound coming through, Angela.
Angela Hutchings, are you with us?
She's muted. She's on mute.
Angela Hutchings, can I ask you to introduce item 16, please?
Chairman, can you hear me? I've had some problems with my headphones today.
I can hear you, yes.
Apologies. Thank you, members. This report comprises the annual pay policy statement for the financial year 2021-22, as required by the Lookism Act 2011. In line with the requirements of that Act, the report sets out the Council's approach to remuneration of its employees. And members will be familiar with the detail contained within the report as it follows the format of previous years. And if there are any questions, I shall be pleased to answer them to the extent that they are within my ability to do so. But if they are of a technical nature, with your permission, Chairman, I would provide a written answer outside of this meeting.
Thank you, Angela. Members, have you any questions, please? There is no such indication, members. Members, there is one recommendation as set out on paragraph 6.1 of the report on page 16.2, which I shall move from the chair, that the pay policy statement be adopted. Do I have a seconder, please?
I happily second that, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Members, as usual, I shall ask those members who are unable to raise their blue hand icon whether they wish to have a recorded vote. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't. Thank you.
Councillor Hazelwood.
No.
Councillor Iona.
No recorded vote, Chairman.
Councillor Merrick.
No.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Those members who wish to have a recorded vote, please, would they please indicate? Members, there will not be a recorded vote. Those members who wish to vote in favour of the before those members who wish to vote in favour of the recommendation, I shall ask those members who are unable to raise their blue hand icon. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. For. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood, are you for, against, or wish to abstain?
For.
Councillor Ionu.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Merrick.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, those members who wish to vote for the recommendation, please indicate. That, members, has been agreed unanimously, so thank you very much, and that concludes the agenda for this evening. I therefore close the meeting, and I thank you for your patience and forbearance as always at 21:04. Thank you, members.